Forget about G.I. Joe. I've always been a Cobra guy. Always been a Cobra guy. Matt Maiocco.
What's going on, Damon?
It is good to see you, brother. Thank you so much for stopping on by. A little State of the Union is what I kind of want to get into with you. And I really thought that we needed to see the game in Jacksonville before we could really frame the State of the Union correctly. I thought it was a massive fork in the road game for the season, for the feel of the team, for Shanahan himself, even though, he has no career hanging in the balance of that game. It was as big of a game for all the other reasons that a game can be big to a head coach. And Matt, flying colors. I mean, is that the right way to say that they passed that test? That's about as dominant a performance as I can remember in Jacksonville.
It was kind of like that was kind of like the continuation from the Week 5 game against Dallas, right? I mean, that's the way that one felt, where Week 5 against Dallas, everybody was going crazy over this team and, they're the best team in the league. And then after 3 weeks, people started putting them around, 10, 12, whatever, and then immediately goes back to where it was. So, they face an uphill battle, I guess you would say, to get that number 1 seed. But now they've kind of reestablished themselves in that upper echelon. But we'll see if they can carry that over. I mean, this game against Tampa is a game that they should win, but then the next 3 weeks are going to be pivotal. Those are the 3 games that will kind of tell you not necessarily where this team's going to go once the postseason starts, but certainly where the team is going to be once the postseason starts. I mean, I think their fate will kind of be sealed after those next 3 games.
It's a massive litmus test. I mean, you got division rival, the belle of the ball in the NFC, and then right back into a division rival who, no matter how the Seahawks are playing, Pete Carroll's always got the what for the 49ers. He really does. He brings out the best in his team against this team, and it's always a fascinating fight. The unlocking of Nick Bosa, Cobra, if he returns to Defensive Player of the Year form because of either Chase Young or the fact that Steve Wilkes has now got his feet on the lawn instead of up in the press box, I don't know what does it, but if he is truly unlocked, that's almost as big of a development for the Niners defense as adding Christian McCaffrey was to the 49ers offense.
I get, you know what, when people first started kind of equating those two, I kind of pushed back on that. But now, after seeing it in play, and I don't know if it's only Bosa, I mean, it might be Armstead, it might be Hargrave as well, that the acquisition of Chase Young helps. And for the longest time, the PFF was really grading Nick Bosa highly. And anytime somebody would say that, Nick Bosa is not having a good season, I would kind of agree. But then look at these PFF stats, and they always had him rated as like one of the top edge guys in the league. And it didn't really match what you were seeing. But this game, it kind of all came into focus. Like he was making plays before, and most of the time, I guess he was coming close to making plays. But this was the first time where he actually made the kind of plays and showed the kind of production that had an impact on the game. And I don't think that was the case up until this point. So, the play that was certainly kind of emblematic of what the 49ers expect that to be was when those two reached the quarterback at the exact same time. Chase Young, I think, got there a split second before Bosa. Then Bosa gets to Trevor Lawrence and causes the strip sack and recovered the fumble as well. So Chase Young is, I mean, if you're around him, man, he's an impressive looking guy. I mean, he's huge. It looks like he's over those injuries that plagued him in year 2 and 3 in his career. And of course, Washington did not pick up the 5th-year option because I think they were very concerned about his long-term future and his sustainability in the league. And the 49ers weren't concerned about that at all because he's not under contract for next year to anybody. And so this was a half-season rental. And then we'll see what the 49ers are able to do in the playoffs. But they gauged the price. They feel like they can get that third round pick back and probably even a better third round pick back as a compensatory, not in 2024, but in 2025. So, um, yeah, there's a chance we'll see how this whole thing turns out. But, I think because of Chase Young, and it wasn't all because of Chase Young, but there is that trickle down effect where, like it helps all those other defensive linemen that I mentioned. And what does that do? That also helps the coverage on the back end. You see not only on the back end, but you see Fred Warner get an interception because of pressure on the quarterback. You see Hufanga get an interception as well. So it really does kind of have just the addition of one more edge rusher that they really didn't have before that. It did have an effect across the entire defensive uh, unit of the 49ers from front to back.
Matt Maiocco live from the Breakfast Nook. It is so good to have him here once
No,
again.
not in the breakfast nook.
Oh,
I'm in
no,
the
let's get this right.
I'm in the daughter's bedroom today. The daughter who is off to University of Oregon and who will be returning home on Friday for well, just the weekend. But yeah, I've aced her out of her room and now I'm here.
Sorry, young Cobra Maiocco. That's the way it goes. Um, but it's good to have you from any room in your house. Again, thanks so much for stopping on by, especially on a day off. I reached out to Matt a couple weeks ago, said, "Can we get together?" And he's like, "I'm slammed right now." He hit me this morning. He's like, "I'm free." I'm like, "Let's party." Thank you for coming on by, man. Um, why do you think shitting on Brock Purdy is a cottage industry, even though
Oh,
he continues to return data points that says everyone needs to talk less and watch more?
yeah, I can tell you exactly why. I mean, there's this element of everybody sees one thing. So how can you attract eyeballs and how can you get people talking about yourself? It's by taking the opposite approach, regardless of how ridiculous and stupid it is. So, I mean, it's kind of a selfish thing. Like, everybody thinks Brock Purdy is a good quarterback, better than a good quarterback, and especially where they got him. Maybe there's an element to maybe there is some genuineness with those people, whoever they are, knocking Brock Purdy. I kind of doubt it. I think they can't be serious. You can't watch what he's done and have anything but admiration and respect for what he's done. So I don't know if it's, oh, I'm so tied into where a player is drafted, but I just think if you watch him, I mean, that throw he made, the Kittle touchdown,
Not
was
bad
an
for a guy without any arm strength. He didn't even get
yeah,
to
that's
throw.
the crazy thing. No, it was like the toughness he showed to hang in there, let that play develop, and then throw the ball that far down the field with like zero room to throw, the pocket collapsing. And that was an incredible play. So I do think that maybe there's also an element of, well, he was the last pick in the draft. He gets off to a good start. He can't be that good. So I'm gonna say he's not that good. And then I'm just gonna keep saying it, regardless of what uh, anybody's eyeballs or logic tells them. So I don't know. I just don't. I honestly at this point don't think that anybody who is criticizing Brock Purdy is being serious, and I think they're probably as disingenuous as you could possibly get. I mean, I think, or they're just flat out lying for clicks, for attention. That's my take. I mean, do you agree?
Yeah, no, I think that
Yeah.
that's a huge element of it. And I do think that there is an element of draftism, I think, going on here where Brock Purdy is living physical evidence that when it comes to covering and all the breathless attention that the draft gets, no one knows shit until the games actually start.
And you know what? This is a guy, Damon, that has made me rethink everything about the quarterback position that I thought I knew. And in case in point, like Caleb Williams. Oh my God, what a talent! I mean, he's incredible. So fun to watch. Heisman Trophy winner last year. Just an incredible talent, and will probably be the number one overall pick in the draft. But if you ask me, do you think he's going to be successful in the NFL? My answer would be, I have no idea, because it's a completely different game. And the things that make you successful in college aren't necessarily the things that make you successful in the NFL. So I would answer, how's his anticipation? How's his ability to be able to diagnose defenses and throw to spots rather than throw to open receivers and hit them in stride? It's like all these little things that I never, well, they aren't little, but all the things that I never really paid all that much attention to. Brock Purdy has kind of opened my eyes to, like, the leadership, the accountability, all that stuff. The one thing about Caleb Williams, I don't mean to like harp on him, but they lost that game. I think it was against Utah, and he was on the bench for like 15 minutes after the game instead of going out there and shaking the hand of the quarterback that beat him.
Right.
Instead of like getting into the locker room and being a leader. And so it's stuff like that really separates. Case in point on Sunday too. This was Brock Purdy, number 262, against Trevor Lawrence, number one from the year before. No, 2 years before, right?
Right.
Who's the better quarterback in that game? And maybe who's just the better quarterback, period? Boy, I can make a really strong case. It's Brock Purdy.
How about this, Matt? If we were just talking, AFC's not included in this conversation. NFC quarterbacks only. I'll spot you Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Who else is better than Purdy? Without a doubt. Definitely better than Purdy. Maybe Bradford. Maybe Bradford.
Who'd you say?
I always got
Cousins?
Stafford. Maybe Stafford.
Yeah,
I always call Stafford Bradford. I'm still stuck in St. Louis Rams mode.
Right. A little, Stafford, because he's done it for so long. Cousins is injured now, but he's a good quarterback.
He is.
Who else?
But where else you going? Exactly.
Yeah,
It's not Geno.
You're right. Then you're starting to talk about Geno Smith. Is it Derek Carr?
Jared Goff on his best day, maybe.
Goff's underrated, I think. But I honestly think that Brock Purdy is the first legitimate Pro Bowl quarterback. And a lot of it has to do with, like you mentioned, the CNFC, but he's the first legitimate Pro Bowl quarterback the 49ers have had in 2 decades, since Jeff Garcia. So, you're talking, and I don't know how much you want to rely on the stats or passer rating, but generally the guy who leads in passer rating, the top people in passer rating, which takes into account yards per attempt, touchdowns, interceptions, those are the kind of the key metrics in the passer rating. Usually those guys who are up there in passer rating are also pass the eyeball test as the best quarterbacks. And right now, Brock Purdy is number 1 in the league when it comes to passer rating. So
he's number 1 in passer rating going back 57 years to the merger, in a sample size of 339 quarterbacks with at least 400 passes. He's got the best passer rating, the best completion percentage, the most yards per attempt, and the best touchdown per attempt ratio since the merger.
Yeah.
In all these categories. It's really ridiculous. Let's say Matt Maiocco, the credible journalist who is well respected, wanted to turn into evil Matt Maiocco and just go full on clickbait. What would you do? What would be your strategy? Would you be talking about Steve Wilkes coming down from the box? Would you be saying that Kyle Shanahan needs to be fired? How would evil Matt Maiocco handle the clickbait?
You mean right now? After this game, or leading into it? Well, I'd probably, if I wanted the clickbait, I would say Brock Purdy sucks. I would say he's, I'd say that it's going to strike midnight, all that stuff. I would say Jed York is a fool for giving Shanahan and Lynch extensions when they haven't won anything.
On those yet, by the way? Do we have any idea what the number on that extension is?
Well, you know what? They've been really protective of that, and I'm not quite sure why.
I don't either.
But it was advertised as multi-year extensions, and so I forget exactly how. So this would have been the last. So I'd say at least through. Okay, let me do my numbers here. I think next year the last year. Yeah, so 25. So it'd be through 2027 for both of those guys. And I would say this. I mean, when I reported a week ago that along with that came a new title for John Lynch, president of football operations slash general manager. So he remains the general manager. But the question is, how long is he going to be? Does he want to do this? I think he enjoys it. I think it's also a grind for him. Um, I don't think, he's not giving away any of his responsibilities right now to Adam Peters, though he leans heavily on him and RJ Gillen and Tarek Ahmad, the other top guys in the personnel department. But, at some point, if the 49ers do win a Super Bowl, wouldn't it shock me to see John Lynch say, okay, it's family time. I got my Super Bowl ring as a player, got my Super Bowl ring as an executive. Let's go make some money from Prime. Let's take Kirk Herbstreit's job or whatever the case may be, and go get some money. And I can't say necessarily that he'd be spending more time with the family, because I know there's a lot of travel involved with that job as well. But yeah, so those would be my clickbait items. I can't think of anything else that I would. I guess you could say Debo Samuel isn't performing, so they need to cut him at the end of the season, and make sure that they keep Brandon Ayuk around.
Well,
That's my clickbait
here's the
stuff.
thing, though, but that might not even be wrong. Here's the thing: Debo Samuel is a much better football player than he is a wide receiver, and I don't mean that as a detriment. You know what I mean?
But here's also the thing: is he does bring something to the
He
table
does.
that's not definable, and you see it. And might sound absolutely ridiculous, but like when they come out of the locker room before the game, it's him and Trent Williams kind of hyping up the team with the boom box. But
It
just
matters.
the way he plays is, I mean, it's special, like how hard he plays, and it has an impact on the defense too. I mean, those guys see it. And then also, because he and Christian McCaffrey are so unique, having Debo Samuel out there opens things up for other people, because defenses really have to pay attention to him. Where's he lining up? He's on the outside. Is he the X? Is he the Z? Is he lining up in the backfield? Where's McCaffrey now? I mean, it creates more elements that the defense not only has to prepare for, but also be very cognizant of, even pre-snap or when the ball is snapped.
Right. It's not just eye candy. There's actual nutritional value there that you have to pay attention to. So
Yeah.
he definitely helps unlock all of what Kyle wants to do offensively. And you talk about the things that are hard to measure, the intangibles. To me, the Niners are at their best when they're playing with violence, not only defensively, but offensive violence. And I think that he represents a huge slice of the offensive violence pie. Obviously, Trent Williams and Debo come back healthy. And what do you know? They're running for a $144 against one of the best run defenses in all of football again. Speaking of defense, Cobra, has Ambry Thomas usurped Isaiah Oliver in the secondary?
I would think so. Yeah, I know they don't want to just say that it's and Steve Wilkes in the preseason even talked about, it'll be a week to week thing, how they approach their defense based on the opponent. But I think it's just really difficult to come up with any kind of argument. I guess you could say, well, if the slot receiver they face is more of a bigger physical possession type of guy, maybe that suits Oliver better in that nickelback role. But Diamador Lenore is a better cover guy, moving from cornerback to slot, cornerback to nickel in passing situations. And then Ambry Thomas, he's been up and down during his short time with the Niners, but he played pretty well on Sunday against the Jags. So I mean, I would think that's the way that they would want to go moving forward. The coverage is better. Oliver's not a good coverage guy. And I think maybe 49ers have been spoiled for the past, 6 or 8 years with K'Wan Williams playing at a high level and then Jimmy Ward last year. So that nickelback position wasn't anything that anybody really had to talk about or the 49ers had to worry about while those two guys were here, and now all of a sudden there is some issues. So it's got to cause some problems for Lenore to play two positions like that, and I'm not sure how many corners in the league do that, slide inside to play nickelback. But it sure looked a lot better on Sunday. And granted, they weren't facing, a Kirk Cousins who was rolling that night, or Joe Burrow who was rolling that Sunday. But it's still it should be a decent Jaguars offense. I think they've kind of underperformed this year, but I would think that you'll see the same lineup, the same nickel situation, the same nickel personnel on Sunday against Tampa Bay that you saw against the Jags.
By the way, I think we've started here something, Matt. A lot of people are excited about evil Cobra time. Very excited about what evil Cobra could bring to the table and to the conversation. It's again, it's a career choice. I'm just putting out there for you. Let me ask you this, and again, thank you so much for joining us on a day off. We'll let you get right back to another room in your house other than your daughter's bedroom talking to us. So appreciate your time. What has Jordan Mason done or not done to evaporate from this offense? And why is Eli Mitchell so much more of a trusted agent when I don't really see it in him to the point where we shouldn't see Mason at all? What happened?
Well, first off, Christian McCaffrey is Christian McCaffrey.
There's that.
And so they have they really have a difficult time taking him off the field, even when it's 34-3. So, they're trying to get him.
That was such an anti-Shanahan thing to do. I know that record is important and everything, and he wanted to do that. But that to me is like the opposite of everything Kyle stands for as a coach.
I would agree. I was really surprised he did that. And I don't know. 18 in a row. I mean, this was a record that I didn't even know was a record until a month ago, right? So it's not like 417 or whatever. It's not like a record that everybody like, oh my gosh, Lenny Moore's record. It's still, no one has talked about Lenny Moore's record until literally a month ago when it became, and there were several weeks where people recognized that Christian McCaffrey had scored a lot of touchdowns in a row, but never even associated Lenny Moore with the guy. It was always like the most touchdowns in a row since 1990. And then I think Elias or whoever kind of dug up, Lenny Moore did, 8 or 17. So anyway, but I would say what Elijah Mitchell did in 2021, is that right? No, 2020. My years are rolling together, but his rookie season, 2021.
It was a really good rookie year.
Really good season. And he ran hard. He made a lot of yards. He did well in the playoffs and all that. So just the fact that he was a starter for as long as he was, and he missed a lot of games that season too. But I think that just that every down nature, even though it was 2 years ago, stuck with the 49ers, and now he has more knowledge of the playbook and all that, even though he hasn't played. So I think that's the thing. I don't think it's any knock on Jordan Mason. I mean, he's obviously as an undrafted guy, usurped Ty Davis Price. It sure seems like they have 4 pretty good running backs.
And he's done some nice stuff on special teams. He's showing up in that box score with tackles every week. I'll give him that.
Yeah. So I don't think it's necessarily a reflection on them not liking Jordan Mason. I mean, a year ago, remember, he closed out he was a closer in some of those games last year, including against Seattle late in that Thursday night game that clinched the 49ers the division. So, I mean, I think in a perfect scenario, us on the outside would think, wow, the 49ers could be better if they mix in those other guys a little bit more. And, with McCaffrey, is there kind of that element of diminishing returns the more he plays? But he sure looked fresh on Sunday. And, how much of that is Trent Williams coming back? How much of that is Debo Samuel coming back? Or just how much of it was he was fresh? So if that's the kind of freshness we saw against Jacksonville, I would think that would be motivation for the 49ers to work those other guys in a little bit more. So I guess I really don't have a good answer for you why those guys, I don't know if the term is falling out of favor, but I think it's just that they love McCaffrey so much that it pains them to take him off the field.
So you get a pill, and it's a bonkers pill, and you are allowed to hand this pill to one player.
This isn't the evil Cobra
No,
pill?
this isn't the evil Cobra pill. This is a bonkers pill, meaning this player is about to go bonkers for the
Oh.
rest of the regular season. And if this player goes bonkers, the easiest path to the playoffs will have revealed itself. Now, we all know that McCaffrey might not even need that pill. So I don't know if you want to waste it on him. I mean, sure, it's easy to give it to the quarterback, but the quarterback is playing pretty bonkers without that pill. So it's up to you to distribute the one and only bonkers pill, Cobra. Who's getting your bonkers pill?
The bonkers pill. It would have to be, I think it would have to be on the defensive side, because the offense has enough guys that nobody necessarily has to go bonkers, that there's enough. I would say, gosh, would it have to be? I think it's got to be somebody on the back end to kind of clean things up. My first thought was Chase Young for the bonkers pill, but let's go. I was thinking either Gibson or Hufanga. Let's go Hufanga, the bonkers pill, to clean stuff up on the back end, help out those corners a little bit, but also be attacking the line of scrimmage and making plays there. So we saw a little bit of it. We saw him have a takeaway on Sunday, but I'd say because of his ability to play the run and the pass, and also I'm going to go. Who would you go with?
So I think you're in the right spot to put it. I would say maybe even Mooney Ward, because
I was thinking that. Yeah.
if he can stop drawing penalties and continue to make plays in the end zone like he did on that Christian Kirk pass, which saved that game from becoming a game early. I thought that was among the biggest plays of the day in Jacksonville. The great play that he made on the Kirk near touchdown. He just got his hand up there and knocked it away. It would be him. Or if I went back to the other side of the ball, to me, the 49ers are at their best when George Kittle's making a lot of noise. You know, not one of those nuanced games where we'll check the Pro Football Focus score to see how he did in run blocking. I'm talking about 6 catches, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. It feels like when Kittle has one of those, they're in the win column almost automatically. So I would go Mooney, Hufanga, or Kittle if we were going offense.
Yeah. No, I think that's all. Yeah, it's all very. The reason I didn't go Ward was because I felt like if there's one corner really playing well, then teams can kind of go to the other side. But if you're cutting the field in half like that, that's fine too. So the thing is, they have so many of those guys who are capable of taking that bonkers pill and producing the rest of the season. And I think before this week, I don't think that there was anybody on the team that was playing at a level that people expected. That there's McCaffrey, of course, but even he had that really costly fumble against the Vikings. But I don't know that there was anybody that was playing at a consistently high level every game where the team was happy, the fan base was happy, and that player was happy. Maybe Warner a little bit. But I think there were some issues with, defending the screen pass, some coverage types of stuff. But I think on this last game, you saw just about everybody play at that expected level. If they can bottle that, if they can continue to do that, which is not easy, obviously, in the NFL, but if they can have more guys, these top line guys playing at the level that they're expected to play at, this team should be in pretty good shape going forward.
When's the last time you took a bonkers pill, and what band was playing that night?
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been such a long time. I don't even remember taking the bonkers pill. Or maybe it was last night and I just forgot taking it.
Matt, thank you so very much. Whenever the Cobra strikes, we all become better football fans. I thank you for it. I wish you the best on the rest of your day off. Thanks to daughter Maiocco for use of the studio this afternoon, and all the best to you, brother. Thanks so much.
All right, Damon, have a good one. Take care.
There he is. The Cobra himself, Matt Maiocco. Always great to see him stop on by.